Mr. Carter is recognized.
Mr. Chairman, thank you very much. Before I begin, I want to first personally thank these brave witnesses for being here. Our heart goes out to you and your families for your incredible loss. We all recognize the significance and the importance of this matter. It's been brought to my attention that our chairman, as we speak, is in the hallway doing an interview with Fox News instead of listening to the testimony of these heartbroken parents. I think that demonstrates just where we should be. We should be here, not talking to talking heads and feeding into that. You know, my colleagues have spent the past year blaming Secretary Mayorkas for longstanding issues like immigration, drug addiction, crime, and so forth. However, impeachment over differences in policy is not constitutional. It also solves exactly nothing for the problems that we were sent here to Congress to solve. It's high time that we, as members of Congress, must come together to pass laws that combat fentanyl in our communities and fund drug treatment programs to help save lives, not to determine who has the biggest megaphone or the biggest political voice to exact vengeance. Our job is to serve and to come up with solutions together, Republican and Democrat, to solve our nation's problems. Professor Pearlstein, would impeaching Secretary Mayorkas over policy differences between the Biden administration and House Republicans solve any problems facing our country?
I don't believe it would. The president retains exclusive constitutional power to replace Secretary Mayorkas with another official who he would charge with pursuing exactly the same policies here.
Is it a bit disingenuous to suggest that somehow this is new? The issues that we're facing are new at the border, and somehow that it was perfect before Secretary Mayorkas took over?
My knowledge, just based on Supreme Court cases, of the number of cases that have arisen surrounding executive actions over border policies and reading the history there, suggests that these problems have existed through 5 administrations over decades, largely because Congress has enacted contradictory laws that are impossible to comply with, and multiple administrations have struggled to resolve that contradiction.
Many of the Republicans complain that the Biden administration and Secretary Mayorkas are not doing enough on immigration, border security, fentanyl, or crime. Professor Pearlstein, does Congress have any role in resolving these longstanding issues? If so, please explain.
Thank you, Representative. As I've mentioned before, Congress has a central role. Indeed, the Supreme Court has repeatedly held, in cases going back more than a century, that Congress's power in this area is plenary, meaning absolute. That is not to say that the executive doesn't retain, under his own Article II authority, enforcement power, but Congress can not only appropriate funds, it can impose conditions on funds, and in the opinion folks are so fond of citing in the recent Supreme Court cases, while impeachment is certainly one power that Congress has, oversight, appropriations, the legislative process, Senate confirmations, withholding funds, and of course, centrally, elections are all tools that are available to Congress and to the American people to effect change here.
And are withholding funds because you are unhappy with the secretary in any way helpful to the issues that these 2 grieving mothers have faced and others may continue to face?
I can't imagine that it is.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to enter this into the record. Synthetic opioid overdose deaths soared while Trump was president. Not my words. This report of March 2nd, 2023.
Without objection.
Between 2019 and 2020, the last year of Trump's presidency, the increase in drug overdose deaths from synthetic opioid was at 55%. Between 20 and 21, the first year of Joe Biden's presidency, the increase in drug overdose deaths from synthetic opioid was at 25%. Not my words. I'll enter this into the record. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. But I will tell you this. This is nothing to be proud of. that one president had higher than another, but it is a fact that requires discussion. But it isn't anything to be proud of, because if it were just 1%, if it was just one daughter, one son, one child that was impacted by this horrible drug that's in our communities now, that comes across our borders now, not necessarily by immigrants, but primarily by those that are seeking to do harm and to enter the drug trade. What do we do when we strip off our party veils and say, let's fix this issue, regardless of our party? Let's take away the notion that this one man, Secretary Mayorkas, is this boogeyman. And we send the message to the rest of the world, if we can just get rid of him, all of our problems would go away. It isn't fair, it's disingenuous, it's misleading to the American people. They deserve better, and we can do better. Mr. Chairman, I yield.